Jeff Scott Soto is my guest today, one of the most prolific singers of all time. He's played with Yngwie Malmsteen, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Sons of Apollo, with David Ellefson from Megadeth, a bunch of other ones that you might not know about, and we're going to discuss those in this interview. He's got a new album out. It's actually an unreleased recording with Rick Springfield's guitarist, George Bernhardt. The band was called Slam, so we're going to talk about that. Lots to discuss coming right up. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, I look terrible. I should turn it back off.
No, you look great. It's amazing. Like you don't look like you sang in the 80s. You look like a
Hey, I'm trying to defy time without the surgeries and the Botox and all that other stuff that everybody else is doing.
That's the thing. That I think that stuff makes you look worse, in my opinion. I don't know.
Everybody starts looking related. That's how they call it. They all start looking like brothers and sisters from the same family. It's like it's kind of weird, but to each his own, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like it's kind of like makeup on girls. Like if I can't tell you're wearing it, then you're doing it right. Like if you got Botox exactly. And I can't tell, then hey, it worked. But if it's like I can totally tell you got Botox, like you look like a clown with the makeup, like it's too much.
It reminds me of Dice Clay when he said, "Hey, honey, who erased their face?"
So
the makeup off.
Do you know Dice? Because you're friends with my buddy Adika, who's like good friends with Dice.
Yeah, well, Steph, he told me that you guys are friends and that I'm going to be talking to you, and he wanted me to pass a message, basically saying you talentless hack, stop riding my coattails and get a life. Well, I made that up, but I'm sure it sounds like something Steph would say.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's funny.
I love Steph.
Yeah, how do you guys know each other? Did you play together?
No, I know him through Derek Sherinian and Eric Singer. We chat with each other every day. We're always texting some silly stuff. We're always making fun of each other. It's great.
Yeah. Okay. So then, because he knows Derek from like I guess like when you're in that business, you guys all just hang out and play together. And
no, I think it's when you play with Alice Cooper, you're basically one big cluster family, and everybody's played with Alice, so everybody knows everybody. But Derek and Alice were there at the same time with Al Pitrelli, so they kind of have their own clique. Each level of Alice's band, they all have their individual cliques. It's not like they all hang out with each other and do picnics and barbecues.
Yeah, that's cool stuff though. So this new record, this is interesting because it's it sounds like it was made in the 80s. I mean, I'm assuming that was the goal with it.
Well, it was made in the 90s. These are the original demos from 91 through 93. And
so it really was. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. These are the original demos that we made. We never got signed, but we got a demo budget from a label, and they didn't want us. Basically, if we go to the studio, you do like 2 or 3 songs. If they like it, then they have the first option to sign you. They didn't want us, but instead of investing the money on making 2 or 3 songs, we actually invested it in home studio. And back then, the best we could find that was affordable were the old Tascam 8-track Porta studios, where the master tapes were cassette tapes. So we made the entire record. All those songs that you're hearing were done on that 8-track. And it's not bad quality for what that's what we had to work with back then. And it turned out really good for what it is.
Oh, yeah, because I was going to say, it sounds like it was made today in terms of production, but I'm just saying that, yeah, so that makes sense. And because I thought you just went back and tried to make an album that sounded like, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because it's interesting, too. What I think is cool is that there's like some rap stuff on there that's like, and it sounds like that kind of 80s, 90s cool rap. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, because you just don't hear that stuff anymore. Who is the rapper that you had on that?
That was me.
No, actually, are you serious?
On the latter part, there's some of the really hard to understand stuff. That was our bass player, Ricky. He was a crazy. That guy was a freak on a leash. He's one of these amazing bass players, but he could rap, and he was just a silly, wacky guy. And we wanted to put that on some of the songs. So yeah, he did some of that. I'm trying to think if I did any. There's like the song Love Parade. There's a rap in there that I'm doing, and I guess the raps that are legible, those are me. The ones that are not legible, those are Ricky.
Okay, yeah. I think the one that's really was a long one was Why You Doggin'.
Yeah. Oh, that's Ricky. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So wait, what's his last name? Because he's a phenomenal bass player. You're right.
Walking. Wolking. Walking.
Oh, okay. Does he play in any other bands? I've never.
He's been in Austin for he's done a number of things, but nothing I can actually just name or rattle off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I know it's you and it's George Bernhardt who plays with Rick Springfield now.
Well, he's retired now from touring and playing.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're all old guys now. I'm the only one that's still kind of like hanging on a thread.
Are you have any plans to retire at some point?
Oh God, no. Why? What am I going to do? Just every day I'm singing, every day I'm creating, I'm doing something. I'm doing an appearance or performance. Why quit now? I'm having too much fun still.
Do you have more fun recording, or do you have more fun like playing live?
You know what? They're both par for the course, because without one, I can't do the other. And that's, I mean that in the sense of, I have to miss the touring part of it by going into the studio and working that way, and vice versa. I miss being in the studio when I'm on the road all the time. So they kind of trade off, and they make me miss one another. So that way I can keep ping-ponging back and forth. If I had to choose only one and stay in one lane with that, I think I would be bored quickly, and I'd probably start up fishing or something like that.
Oh, that makes sense. That's the same way I feel about like podcasts, like doing like musicians, and then I'll have like a lot of musicians, and then I'll be like, oh, it's so fun, but I'm getting burnt out of musicians, and I'll have an author on or something, and then I'll be like, oh, I want to do a musicianing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely.
That's perfect. So what are your expectations for this record? Do you have, I mean, is it just to kind of get this out into the world since you have it?
We didn't pursue this. It was the label 20th Century Music. I know the guys for years. We're kind of in the same social circles, and they reached out to me saying, these demos everybody's been trading them for years, the cassette copies, third, fourth, fifth generations, with hiss and noise and pops and crackles. And they came up with the idea, there's an interest. There's I guess people want this. So if you have the original master tapes and we can put something together and make a presentation of it, we'd love to do it with you. And they talked us into it. Basically, this stuff's been laying dormant for close to 30 years. And along the way, these songs were so cool to me back in the day. I've picked and selected certain ones for certain things that I've been doing. But for the most part, these versions just been lying dormant, collecting dust for all these years. And we kind of undusted it and mastered it and put all the levels the right way and presented it as the album that never was, kind of thing.
Okay. When you put out a new record, typically, like, especially if it's something you just worked on, though, do you have like high expectations for it? Do you ever get disappointed?
Yeah, every artist, every band, every artist does. I mean, if you didn't have any expectation for it, why would you do it? And something like this is more like a bucket list of people have been listening to these demos and all these different variations for so long. Let's put them all in one collection and just say, now you can finally have them all in one setting. And that's basically all it is. We're not expecting this to explode or become something that causes a reunion or a tour or putting the band back together. None of that shit. So it's really just it's mainly for us that we can say all that hard work 30 years later, finally, we can actually see it in the collection together, and we can share it with the guys in the band and anybody who's interested in it.
Yeah. So you don't usually typically have, like, you're not expecting to, sell millions of records when you put out new records nowadays, because it's so hard to do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can still get streams, right? I mean, I guess for whatever.
Yeah. And for the most part, I mean, it's going to be a select audience that finds this, that's interested in this. There'll be a lot of people that been following my career, but like I said, there are a lot of people that were trading and selling these tapes as something like a little hidden treasure, a little gem. And now we're giving it to them all clean and mastered and sounding great. So, but once again, I'll reiterate, these are the original demos that we made back in 91 to 93. And we toyed around with the idea of maybe re-recording them and making them updated and making them sound badass based on the technology today. And I said, well, why would we do that? This is more impressive, that when you're listening to this, that we were able to capture so much magic in the course of these little cassette tape masters. So I would say, let's pat ourselves in the back for something we did back then that sounds like this, instead of what we could do to it now with 98 tracks and digital,
Yeah, no, I like the way it is, because it sounds like, it's a throwback, and you get a lot of new music from the 80s and 90s. I mean, you have some bands that are doing stuff like that now that's like, they're making it sound like that, but this is like legit, officially stuff from that era. So very cool.
What I really love about it, I mean, I sound totally different. I sound so young. I was 26 and I'm going to be 58 this year. So it's over 22 years ago I started singing this. I mean, 32 years ago singing this stuff. And for me, it's nice to listen to what I used to sound like, as opposed to taking those songs that I love so much and redoing them now and listening to them back the way I sound now. It won't capture the same spirit of what we were doing back then.
Right. So would you play any of these songs live, like with your solo band or anything though, just for fun?
I have. I mean, as I said, I've taken a few hits there and here and there for different things throughout my career, and some of them were performed live throughout the course of my live shows and tours. At this point, it is kind of older, and I have a lot of newer stuff, and I'm with bands like Sons of Apollo and other things that doesn't really fit the formats. But if I'm doing a solo tour, I'll always throw in stuff from the past. It's always a collection of the variations of things that I've done. I don't just do solo material when I tour solo tours. I'm always doing things from the different walks of life of my career.
Yeah. I mean, so reminded me what your bands you're a part of right now. Is it ellefson-soto?
Yeah.
Sons of Apollo, and then your solos, those three, or is there more?
Yeah, those three. I tour every year with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I'm doing these weekend warrior dates with Jason Bieler from Saigon Kick. We do like a comedy acoustic thing every weekend that we're both free. There's something new that's launching in September I can't talk about yet, and it's going to be something that's going to pretty much consume most of 24 for me, but it's really cool. It's going to be really cool. So that's the most I can say about it. And nobody's reading between the lines, hopefully, because I'm not supposed to even be talking about the release date. But bottom line is it's coming out in September, and I'm excited for that. And that's going to be something I can really sink my teeth into. And,
is it with somebody else that's like a famous musician?
Yes.
Ooh, oh, now I'm curious. You'll have to tell me that, or Adika can tell me or something.
I've always got different irons in the fire. So I'm never sitting back and waiting for something to happen. I'm always making sure something's happening.
Yeah. Tell me about your relationship with Jason Bieler, because that sounded interesting. He reached out to you when he was like 18 or something.
Well, I actually reached out to him. I wasn't even looking, and what became his bass player, a guy named Tom DeFile, he just came to LA. He was looking for a gig. I was in the studio doing something. It was kind of a solo thing. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I'm like, yeah, come on out. Maybe I can try you out at playing bass on this stuff. Didn't really work out, but when he was in town, he played me a demo, and Jason Bieler was on the demos, songs that he was playing with him. And I go, God damn, who's a guitar player? So I called Jason and I said, hey, I'd love to meet you. On his own dime, he came out to LA. We met in 1988. I wanted to get him on that project. That project just fell flat. And it wasn't like a year and a half later, I called him again. I said, hey, I just recorded this album with a band or a project called Talisman. The guitar player that played on the record's got stage fright. There's no way we can get him on stage. Would you be willing to go and do like a month of touring in Sweden? Say, great. He learned this stuff. And that's how Jason and I got our feet wet together, playing live together back in 1990. I've known him ever since. And he went back home after that tour and started Saigon Kick, and the rest is history.
Oh, that's really cool. And so
for a long time.
Explain to me what it is. It's a comedy duo. What is it?
Well, Jason, if you've ever seen any interviews or met him, he's a very witty, dry wit. It's all about humor. It's all about sarcasm. And he never cracks a smile, but man, that guy he'll have you on the floor in stitches. So he has a natural wit and sense. And he started doing his own, when Saigon Kick broke up for the last time, he started doing his own acoustic gigs. And naturally he's got that wit and that kind of characteristics in his set. So when I would he would say, hey, come on and do a couple songs with me, or come and guest with me. We have a natural witty banter with each other because we've known each other for so long. And he said, dude, we're on to something here. We should turn this into something. So we're 4 years deep, and we've turned it into quite the thing. We're doing a lot of festivals, a lot of really cool stuff together. So it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds fun. So it's kind of like a Steel Panther.
We do stripped down Saigon Kick songs, things that would work, but we never even play full songs. We'll do like maybe a verse and a chorus of a song. We move on to something else. It gives us more time for comedy and to throw in more music.
So it's like Steel Panther, kind of like with the banter in between the songs.
Yeah, without the X-rated. We're not trying to. It's not potty mouth kind of stuff. It's more make you think kind of stuff, and it's a lot of self-deprecation. It's just a lot of fun. It's really hard to put into words. When you see it, you go, oh my God, I totally get this.
Oh, okay, that sounds
more like
fun.
a Tenacious D kind of thing. Where
okay. You guys, and you said you tour with that?
We play weekends. We do like Thursdays through Sunday kind of things, when we'll take like a couple months out of the year and we'll go out and we'll do fly dates.
Okay.
Imagine Flight of the Conchord meets Tenacious D. That's kind of what we're
Yeah.
doing.
That'd be cool. Well, if you ever come to Phoenix, I would love to see that. That sounds really
Yeah,
fun. Like
absolutely.
even Vegas or LA, I'll sometimes
But we,
drive
right,
for.
yeah, we're supposed to do Vegas, I think, in October. So I'll
Oh,
definitely hit you up. I'll let you know.
that sounds fun. So what is it? Explain this to me. Like, because your career is so crazy, like how many things you've been a part
Yeah.
of. But like when you first start, like with Malmsteen, you get that gig. Like at that point, you got to think like, okay, I've made it. And then that like goes away. And then you got this other thing, and then that doesn't work out. And then you're joining Journey. Like, how do you deal with the ups and downs of like, okay, I got this thing, like this is it. This is the thing that, and then it's like, then that goes away, but then you get something
Right.
else. You just kind of know that if something falls apart, you go, well, there's something else coming around the corner.
You kind of have to compare it to relationships. I mean, if you're with a girl and it doesn't work out, what are you going to stop dating? You're going to just give up on love, give up on relationships altogether? Of course not. You try and try and try again until you get it right, or until you get it at least right enough to last long enough until the next thing has to come around. So the bottom line is it's what I do. It's what I do for a living. I'm a soldier of fortune, but I'm not joining things or jumping into things because I'm looking for the next big thing that's going to make me a star. I'm looking for things that I know I can work with and progress with and grow with for years. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work out. It's not necessarily me or the other person. It's the circumstance that breaks it up or makes it move forward. So I just don't want to give up. As it's in my blood. I have more to say before I leave this earth.
Yeah. So when you pick different projects and things, do you have a manager or a talent agent or somebody to help you decide what to do, or does it just all you?
I've had it in the past, and I've learned a lot, and I've learned how to kind of represent myself where I don't need to be giving commission to somebody who can do or doesn't do things that I would be doing myself or would rather be doing myself. There have been so many situations where I could even suggest, well, why don't you answer this way, and maybe we can get that. And then in the end, I don't get it. It's like, if I had done it, I would have gotten that. Why am I paying you for not getting it? So at this point, I've actually been managing and working with other bands as well, because I realize that this part is not going to be working for the rest of my life. I better tap into something else that I can stay within the music business, and I can actually continue giving or helping somebody else grow and move forward. So I learned a lot about the business, and I can represent myself as much as I can represent somebody else. That's how I see it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you did managing and stuff. Do you
Yeah.
do like producing as well? And
Yeah. All those things just come, it's par for the course. You do it for so many years. And it's even one of the things when somebody says, if you had any advice for a young musician, I always tell them, learn the business. Don't trust that this guy or that guy, or even your folks are going to be looking after you. You're looking after your best interest. And that's the best way you can look at it. There's nobody else that's going to have your best interest more than yourself. And I learned that when the band Soto I put together, we went through 4 managers until finally the bass player looked at me and he said, dude, you seem to be doing all the work. You do a better job than everybody else that you brought on board. Why don't you just manage the band too? And I said, I think you're right. And I had a partner who he was just getting into the game. He needed to learn a few of the tricks and trades, et cetera. And I said, come with me. You'll be my sort of apprentice along the way, but you'll also be my go-to guy when I need to be the artist and step back and let somebody represent me. And we've been doing it like this successfully for the past 6 years.
wow, that's nice. Do you have a lawyer that has to do all the law stuff though?
Absolutely. You build that little team as you go. You learn who you can trust, who you would actually let raise your firstborn kind of stuff. And yeah, and from there you know who your people are.
Yeah, because I would think some of those contracts get kind of
very wordy.
Yeah.
Very wordy and unnecessary text.
Yeah, it's like they try to trick people, I feel like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I've signed many a crappy contract, and that's where I learned the business. I mean, if I go back to even the Yngwie record and I see what I signed away, it's heinous, it's robbery what I gave away for that. I haven't made any money for those albums that sold hundreds of thousands of copies, but you live and you learn, and you try to move forward with the knowledge and the education of where you fucked up.
Shit. So what, you didn't get the songwriting credit or the performance credit? Or
yeah, I would get the songwriting and the performance credit, but what I gave away was the publishing on it, not realizing I was signing it away based on the wording of the contract. And it was one of those, it's like you blink and next thing you know, they're taking everything from you.
wow. But you have so many recorded albums, like, do you just have like a giant, what is it that they call it, the ASCAP list or whatever,
Yeah.
where it's like,
It's ASCAP or BMI. I'm with BMI, and it's just it's just a catalog. It's a catalog of all your works. Everything's got its own serial number and the administration and all that stuff. Yeah, but I learned all of that along the way. Some of it I learned a little late in the game, but I learned enough now that, especially now, the things I've been doing for the past 10 or 15 years have been more successful than the stuff I did the first half of my career. So luckily, I knew what I was getting into now, and I can actually make sure I manage it a lot better now than I was able to back in the day.
oh, okay, that's interesting. So then what is, like, can you say, like, what is your number one best, number one top of the thing of your BMI list?
At the moment, Sons of Apollo is it did pretty well, and obviously I was a co-writer on every song, so that helped on the financial end, as far as collecting and everything. But for me, I just look at it as I just want to work with people I get along with and that have the same end game as me. It's not about riches, it's not about being famous. For me, it's all about the quality of the work and being proud of it. Everything else follows.
Yeah. So what's the status with Sons of Apollo? Is there another record? Because I think it's been like 3 years.
Yeah, we're a bit dormant. I mean, we're a bit saddened and the blow of the whole pandemic, because we dropped that record literally January 2020, and 3 months later we basically had to sit it out, and it just it fizzled away. But unfortunately, because of all the time that passed and everybody was dormant, now everybody's playing catch up with a lot of stuff. So we're just it's a waiting game. We got to wait till everybody's free. Billy's with Mr. Big and Winery Dogs, Mike's with Winery Dogs, Derek's with Black Country Communion, and everybody's just we're all over the map. So I'm sure when the timing is right, we'll put our heads together and we'll start making a plan for the future.
Yeah, that's cool. I had Bumblefoot on he's such an amazing guitarist. Like, you just get wowed by watching him?
Absolutely. I'm so blessed and humbled by some of the amazing guitar players I've had the luxury of playing with through the years. But this guy just takes the prize in terms of his personality and his playing. He comes from another planet when it comes to his playing, but when it comes down to his personality, he's the most down to earth individual I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, he seems really humble, actually, because I saw him with Guns N' Roses on the Chinese Democracy. And that, like, I wasn't a big fan of that album, but then when I saw him perform it live, I grew like a different appreciation for it. I was like, wow, like, just watching him play, it's like you realize how like complex the music is and how he just it makes it look so easy, though. I don't know, it's really cool to see that. Like, obviously,
he's phenomena. He truly is a phenomena. He can play anything, and I love being around people like that you can just throw anything at them and they'll play it, and they actually challenge me as well. They'll give me something. Oh, geez, I don't know if I can do that, but it makes me want to do it, or at least makes me want to try, because, why would I say no to a challenge?
Yeah. Have you played any other, besides the things that are, what's the most like different kind of music that you've played that's not rock and metal? I mean, because you can sing soul and funk and R&B and all that other stuff.
Well, that's where my roots came from originally. I didn't even like rock until I was about 16. So by the time I got in Yngwie's band, I was only into heavy metal and hard rock about 2.5 years. But before that, it was all Earth, Wind and Fire, Motown, Kool and the Gang, Commodores, Jackson 5, Temptations. That I grew up with all that stuff. And this is kind of the antithesis to what led to slam, because all those old influences were kind of on the way, kind of sitting dormant while I was doing all the metal stuff. And like, I really miss that. I want to put those two worlds together, the way Extreme, Living Color, Dan Reed Network, those kind of bands where they were mixing that kind of Prince meets Van Halen kind of thing. And that's what we were going for with slam, because I just felt that in my blood that was something I really wanted to do.
Yeah, that song For You, it totally reminded me of Prince. I was like, absolutely. Oh, this is like a blatant influence.
Oh God, total ripoff of Prince. And there's a song on there called Dance the Body Electric. It's a total extreme ripoff, but it's a ripoff in the sense that we're paying tribute to something that really made us excited for that time. So, but the Prince thing, it absolutely laced in For You. When George played me the music for it, I could have easily just sang it in a normal male voice. And then I just started toying around with doing it in falsetto, and I did the entire thing. He's like, dude, you're onto something. That's really cool. He wasn't a big Prince fan, but knowing that I was, he trusted that I was tapping into that level of excitement for a song like that.
Yeah, and then so then when you said you were 16, you were influenced by all that. So what was there one rock band that really made you kind of switch?
Toto was the one that pretty much introduced me to Toto and Queen. Mostly Toto because Bobby Kimball was you can tell that dude was a total soul singer. It was like a black guy stuck in a white guy's body in terms of the way he sang. He had that essence and that total white soul. And
Blue-Eyed Soul, I think they call it.
Blue-Eyed Soul, yeah. When you play a song like Hold the Line or I'll Supply the Love, you have the heavy guitars, but you have that soulful guy's just wailing like he comes from that whole Motown school. And that's what basically told me that you can marry the two genres, and that's how I got into rock. I eventually got into rock from that, and then Styx and Journey and Queen, that became the norm. Then into Van Halen, and then all of a sudden it was Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. It progressed. It's kind of like the gateway. Toto was my gateway drug into rock.
So tell the story. I know you probably told the story a million times, but tell the story about how you joined Yngwie's band. Is like you saw an ad on MTV and you mailed a demo tape, and like, I mean, even if it was the right address, like it's kind of a crazy thing. Like now it's so easy to get a hold of people, but back in the day, it's like it was kind of hard to find people.
The demo tape I sent Yngwie, it was the first original band I was in, a band called Canaan, and I was 16 when I did the demo. I was in Colorado at the time. I was 18, and I went out there because my band Canaan broke up. My buddy told me, hey, there's a cover band needs a singer. You can make money. We can have fun. We can hang, party. I didn't party. I didn't drink or anything, but I love to hang out. So I joined this band. It was great in the beginning. Then we started losing gigs, and it got to the point where I was so broke, I was stealing food from 7-Eleven just to get through the night. And I said, I give up. I got to go back, move back to LA, move back in with my mom. This is not going to work. So literally nights before I was going back, it was a week before I was coming back home. There was an MTV ad. We were hanging at a friend's house. Everybody went upstairs to get some pop, and I'm watching. The commercial came up. Then Mark Goodman comes on the screen, says, hey, Yngwie Malmsteen has left the band Alcatraz. I was a big Alcatraz fan, and he's doing a solo album, and he's looking for a singer, and it could be you. And he put his finger on the screen like that. I'm like, whoa, no way. And I told my friends, dude, Yngwie left. No way. You got to send your tape. Yeah, right. 16-year-old. When I sang at 18 years, he's looking for a real singer. He's looking for a man. He's not looking for a kid. And they said, no, your tape is good. You got to send it. They talked me into it. We sent it to LA. I told my mom, hey, before I get home, if I get a call from Yngwie Malmsteen, she's like, wait, what? Nobody could pronounce his name back in the day. And not even a week after being home, I got a call from them saying they wanted to meet me. The funny thing is, after the audition, after I got the gig, the manager pulled me aside. He said, I just want to let you know, there were only 2 tapes that we pulled out of the box to play for Yngwie. And one was the worst one of the bunch. The second one was yours. So we played him the worst one first as kind of a joke. He goes, you got to be kidding me. You want me to check this guy? No, we're just joking. This is the guy we want you to check out. I was the only one he listened to, and I got the gig. So
that's it. I didn't know that part of the story, because I was going to ask you, like, was there other people you were up against, like veterans that had? No, interesting.
Nope. They basically went with the box of tapes that people submitted from the whole MTV thing, and it's ironic. It took him 3 weeks to finally tell me I had the gig, because he was kind of stringing me along, and I started feeling used because I didn't drink. So I would borrow my mom's car. I didn't even have a car. I was living at home. I borrowed her car to go to Yngwie's house, which at that time I lived in Sylmar, and he was in Canoga Park. It's kind of far, and it's gas guzzler. But it's like, yeah, come on to the house. We're gonna work on some stuff together. Okay. And after we work on stuff, okay, drive me to the Rainbow, and you get shit-faced drunk, and I have to drive him home. And I was like, he's just using me for a taxi for 3 weeks. And then 3 weeks in, I finally get the call from management saying I got the gig.
Wow. That's got to be exciting as a teen. I mean, I was reading about bands in Metal Edge and stuff when I was like 16, 17. I can't imagine like actually being in one of them. That would have been surreal.
I was at the right place at the right time. Thankfully, I was, LA was the scene. That's where the scene was. Everything was popping here. Unfortunately, I didn't find a band that really suited me. And I probably would have eventually, because that was right at the crust of when everything was happening, from Quiet Riot to Rat, Motley Crue. They were all getting signed, etc. So I was trying to find that niche, but unfortunately it wasn't happening. So Yngwie was a godsend for me, and it opened up the doors and started my career for me.
Yeah, and then you did this band. I guess it didn't. Nothing ever came of it, but I didn't know about this one either. That with Rudy Sarzo and Tommy Aldridge and Mark St. John from Kiss, and I guess it only lasted a few months.
Yeah, I left Yngwie for that, and it sucks because when I left it for that and it didn't work out, I was a free agent again. I started a band and started from scratch again. But I eventually went back to Yngwie for a second tenure with them, and that was in '86. So the guy that replaced me, Mark Bowles, he basically got sacked, and they asked me to come back and finish out the tour. And I was with him until the beginning of '87, which was there was no real okay, you're done or I'm leaving. It was none of that. It just kind of there was no communication. Next thing I know, they introduced Joe Lynn Turner as the next singer.
Hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. And then you did that band with the Misfits that I guess nothing really came of that either.
Well, I did. Yeah, that I never expected to be more than just a session. That when they hired me in, I didn't realize they were hoping that I was going to continue with them. And they put this thing, Kryst the Conqueror, together. And God bless them. I love Mo and Doyle. They're just great guys, but it just wasn't my music. It wasn't my scene musically. I had a completely different idea of where I wanted to go. But we did some stuff together. It was great. It was a lot of fun doing it. And like I said, I got to meet these two guys, just really, really good guys.
Yeah, with something like that, do you get paid for something like that? Or because yeah, okay. So
yeah, they paid me as a session singer for it. And because I didn't know what it was about. I knew they told me after the fact when I was there, they would fill me in on what their plans and intentions were. But they also didn't tell me before I did it that they were hoping or planning on me staying along. And Kryst the Conqueror would have been my character. I would have been Kryst the Conqueror. And I'm not into this whole concept thing and being characters and stuff. I just want to be Jeff and go up there and sing and move my ass.
Yeah. Why were they trying to do you know why they were trying to do Christian metal? It just seems kind of like out of sorts was it just something they thought?
Yeah, I'm sure it had a lot to do with the trauma that they had to deal with Danzig I think they were born again from that. They just wanted to kind of veer away from that whole thing. And then I think they just eventually got back to where they are now. You know, the Misfits eventually got back together and Doyle's still doing his thing, solo thing. And, you know, like I said, I met some really good people out of the situation. Unfortunately, musically, it just wasn't for me in my wheelhouse at the time.
Yeah. And then you've done a lot of session work, like the background vocals. Is that kind of a lucrative gig to sing background vocals of like a big album, like with Lita Ford and Steelheart and those things?
It's great because it was a great way to make money and it was a great way to utilize my voice being behind the scenes. Because the first one I met in that when it started really branching off was Tom Werman, and I only went in because I knew the Striper guys. They asked me to come in and help them kind of build stronger, bigger harmonies than their past the past albums they'd done. But from that, I met Tom Werman, and then he was bringing me for everything that he was doing from that point on until his retirement. I was singing all the records he was producing. I was doing all the backing vocals for Babylon AD, Steelheart, Lita Ford, Pariah. There was a bunch of stuff. And then he went into retirement, got pulled in, got roped in for the Rockstar thing. And when they were asking him, okay, give us some names of people to sing for the lead character, he dropped my name. Like, who? So it was one of those things. Thank God I had his blessing, but I also had Zach and Jeff Pilson and Jason Bonham's blessing on the other end, because they're in the movie as the band, and they were the musicians that were on those recordings as well. So they backed me, and that's how I was able to get the Rockstar thing as well. So it's who you know, really, and as long as you have good relationships with everybody, you can constantly work in this business.
Yeah, that is a huge part of your success, I'm sure. And like I had like Rudy Sarzo, and he was telling me the same thing. Like he's like, look, I can play the bass, but a lot of people can play the bass. Like you got to be like a cool guy to hang with. You got to be reliable and all those things. You must have that to keep getting work so much with so many different people.
There's a saying I got from Eric Singer, and I live by it every day, and I pass it on to a lot of people. Know the gig, keep the gig. It's as simple as that. Know your place, deliver, be on time. Don't be an asshole. All of the above. Know the gig, and you get to keep the gig.
Yeah, that's interesting though as a singer, because typically the singers are the frontmen, but sometimes you're hired kind of like it's almost like a hired gun singer, which is a little bit more unusual.
Yeah. I mean, like Journey, for instance, I was a hired gun initially when I got the gig. It turned into a permanent gig, and then it turned into them letting me go. But in the beginning, it was exactly that. I had to I had to make sure I didn't overstep my boundaries in terms of what I normally do, what's expected of me when people come to my shows. That didn't work for Journey. They didn't want David Lee Roth. They didn't want Paul Stanley fronting Journey. They wanted somebody who's a little more somber. So I had to kind of hone it back, rein it back a little bit. And I found my legs with that band and exactly what to do and what not to do. But, for all intents and purposes, if you know the situation, you know how to actually treat it, you know how to respect it and actually stay with it.
Yeah. Well, and then you guys have nailed the coffin. I mean, it's all water on the bridge now. You're cool with Neil and everying.
Yeah. And we're cool with each other. We have a contact here and there. It's not like we're hanging out and having coffee and, we're not besties again, but I'm glad that there's at least a narrative now. There's no negativity between us, and we can actually reach out to one another. And we've broken bread already. So
it's just Yngwie that you still have the.
I was just gonna say the next one I'm trying to get that whole thing just ironed out is Yngwie. I don't want to leave this planet with any enemies. Life is too short, and I've been around the world. I've been around the sun too many times to say, screw you. I'm this, I'm that. I just want peace and harmony. And I want the people that I've worked with, the people that I love, the people that I'm close to. I just want to make sure that they know that I feel that about them. So that's all. I don't want anything else from them.
Yeah. That's what it seems like. Your reputation, speaks of that, because all these people that you keep consistently working with, like Dean Castronova, even though you were in the band before Journey, then you're in Journey, and then he's singing on your duets album and stuff. So you kept a relationship with him.
Yeah. And I do the same with, I have a connection even with Arnell. I've never met the guy, but obviously because of our connection, we're family in some strange way. So I want to make sure that there's no bad blood with anybody between any of the people that I work with, any of the people that work with the people I work with. It's just, we're all connected. It's much easier to get along than it is to break apart.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes finding the peace is just kind of letting it go and saying, well, this person doesn't like me or whatever, they got beef with me, but I don't have beef with them?
Yes and no. I'm kind of persistent with the whole Yngwie thing, and I continue to extend the olive branch, even though there have been a few instances where that olive branch gets broken or cracked. But I just continue extending it because I know someday we're going to end up, it's going to be brotherly love, hugs, and we could just water under the bridge as well.
Wow, that's a positive thinking. Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry.
No. It's go ahead. I
was just gonna say, sometimes it feels like I don't like to give up on people, but sometimes just like, all right, this person, just whatever reason, they don't like me. I'm here, I'm open. I got the same phone number and stuff, but I got to just sometimes let it go. It feels like.
Yeah. I'm not chasing it. I'm not going to go even to the point of bothering somebody like, oh my God, leave me alone already. There's little hints and little things that I put out there to make sure that he knows I want peace. I just want peace with him. And like I said, I don't want anything else from him. I'm not looking for another chance to sing for him. I'm not looking for anything. He's an important factor in my life. He's the reason why I got my career started and where it started. So I want to make sure that he understands that I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like a totally positive. It sounds like you're just really grateful.
Yeah. And I got this heavy metal awards thing that happened a few years ago. They started a few years ago. I think I was inducted in the second one. And that was part of my induction speech. I said, I started as this Puerto Rican kid and a Swedish axe slinger discovered me and gave me a shot. And everything that I'm representing standing on this stage, I owe to him because it started with him.
So why is he like, it seems like he's like mad at you or something.
You know what? I'm sure it's a communication cross. Like I said, once that olive branch is taken, a lot of this stuff can be spoken. We can just finally get it all out on the table and find ways and reasons to be friends from this point onward. So I'm not giving up on it. Like I said, I'm not chasing it, but I'm not giving up on it either.
Well, it sounds like you don't even necessarily need to be friends. You just want to have peace, you just want to be cool with each other. Like when you go to the show and you're trying to see the opening band, you don't have to like sneak out. That whole thing is just seems kind of, I see your point, you didn't want to, but it's like, you should be able to just go there and say hi and say hello, or whatever. It should be
yeah. And you know what? Next year is the 40th anniversary. The next year is the 40th anniversary for me as a professional singer. And that started with Yngwie. So 40 years deep, I would love to shake his hand. I'd love to even if he wants me to sing a song with him, if he wants me to even just have a coffee with him, just to say, dude, we did this 40 years ago together. How cool is that? And that's it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not getting younger, and we're not, our days are numbered our years are numbered on this planet. So I want to go out with peace with everybody.
Yeah. So you don't necessarily want to have a reunion or whatever, but are there fans that want that? I mean,
oh God, yes. Are you kidding me? If that was ever something that was on the table, I mean, of course I would do it. Of course, I'd be silly not to do it. I'd be celebrating something that's that important to should be to both of us, but it's very important to me. And of course I would do it. I would do it for the fans, because they still remember to this day that I almost every day I hear, you're my favorite singer during the, for the Yngwie records, for you were my favorite singer that he's ever had, on all that stuff. So it's still there. The interest is there. And of course I would follow up with it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you play those songs live still, I'm assuming.
Well, I dabbled into we do what I called an Yngwie medley, because I don't want to do an entire version of I'm a Viking or an entire version of I'll See the Light Tonight. It's a little more self-indulgent to do that. It's like, look at what my guitar player can do, and look, I can still do those high notes. It was more like, let's pay tribute to those songs, and we do like a 3-song montage of the Yngwie stuff that I did back in the day.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are those records? Am I crazy? Or are they not on Spotify?
They're not on Spotify. I don't know why.
Huh.
I don't know if it was I really don't know. I don't know what the tie-up is in terms of who owns the licensing and the reissues side of things. I have no idea.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, because that might be why. Well, I guess you said you don't get as much from those anyways, though.
I don't get anything from them. My royalty rate or return on there is like a fraction of an eighth of a penny, or it's something. It's probably the same as Spotify royalty. It's really bad.
Yeah. Wow.
Again, I signed it. It's my fault. I could have taken it to a lawyer. I decided, I know what I'm reading. I know what this says, and I just signed it. I didn't realize what I was signing away, and it's not Yngwie's fault. It was the people that represented him at the time, and they were doing the same thing to him. So it's
shit. Yeah, it seems like it's very common. And then also I hear all these stories about like bands playing clubs, and then like you go to get the money, and the club owner's like, I don't have the money. I'll pay it later.
That's happened to me many a time. Oh God.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Or they're not happy with how many people you bring in. They say, well, we're not going to pay you because we expected it to be full. I'm like, oh yeah? Wait till you see your dressing room when you come back.
Is that what you do? You trash the dressing room?
Yeah. Well, I learned the best way to escape a fight, especially if you know this person can kick your ass, is to just show that you're crazy. Just pull the crazy out. So when they told me this information, when they weren't bending and budging, I pounded my fist on the dressing room door, and all my beads came smattering everywhere, and I was going crazy. And then like, this guy's a lunatic. And next thing you know, they had the guy on the phone. You better get the money here right away, because you scare them with crazy. You don't scare them with words. You scare them with crazy.
That's good advice. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
It can work most of the time, unless they got a gun. That's where you.
Yeah. There's probably stories like that too. It seems like it's harder for people to do that kind of shit now, because now all you do is just tweet to your 40,000 followers or whatever, and then that thing can go viral or whatever. And then this person's like been publicly shamed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's a good thing about social media.
Well, there's good and bad. I mean, everybody hides behind those things, and it's the big dick energy and little man syndrome all in one.
With social media, you mean? Like
social media? Yeah. I mean, everybody's got a big mouth when they can type in their responses.
Yeah, that is so weird. Like, it's weird that I'm sure you must get trolls, because even I get some trolls, which is like really weird. I'm like, why are you taking the time to comment on this? It seems very strange to me.
It used to bother me. It used to actually really get under my skin. Now,
really?
I walk away from it. It's like, you got to be kidding! I don't have time for this shit.
Like what do they say?
Well, they want to spark me. They'll say something knowing that I'm going to reply or defend myself or defend somebody else, and I just say whatever. And I usually just say one thing, and I let my people who know how to defend me get involved, and they usually just shred them, and they eventually go away. I'd rather do it that way. I have a lot of really strong of defending fans that will really just go to bat for me. So it's great to have. I don't expect them to do it, but it's nice to know that they got my back, and I appreciate them. And this is what I do this for. I do this for the people. I do this for me, number one, but I make music so people can enjoy it and people can have a good time with it. And if that's happening, then my job is complete.
And you still feel like it's working. You're still entertaining tons of people with
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's not one iota in me that said, I don't want to do new music anymore. Nobody cares about new music. I want to do new music. I want to do for me. I don't care if it doesn't sell. I don't care if it doesn't make money. I care that it's giving me a creative outlet. This is my therapy. The whole lockdown and everything, music is my therapy. It gets me through life. It makes me tick. Without it, just to do shit that I've already done and rest on my laurels. That's boring. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah. And you must get some good feedback too. Like that must be nice to get those compliments.
Yeah. And once in a while you get something that resonates in a bigger way than some of the other stuff. And you kind of like get to touch gold a little bit. So I'm cool with either way. All I care about is having the outlet to be creative and to continue doing what I'm doing, because I don't have an ounce of me that wants to stop.
Do you have you must have those stories too, like where people are like, hey, this song really like helped me through a tough time, or like it really meant a lot to me, or those kinds of things?
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got that. That's the thing about music. It sounds cliche. It sounds like your general answer, oh, this got me through that and all that. And you hear it all the time. Somebody will say, this song I got married to, this song I played at my daughter's funeral. You get all these different walks of life based on the songs that you put out there. And that's, to me, the bigger reward than finance or buying a new car or any of that. When it resonates with somebody that close, and you make that connection with somebody, to me, that's the biggest reward of why I do this.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's why you should keep doing it then, especially if it's still happening. That's really cool.
Absolutely.
God, so many things that you've done. Oh, I wanted to ask you about this one. I don't really know a lot about it, but you did something with Vinnie Vincent. You guys recorded some demos or something?
Oh yeah.
What was it like working with him?
It was great. It was easy because Vinnie, he also came from a very R&B soul pop base before Kiss, especially, or before Vinnie Vincent Invasion. And he always wrote for other people. He wrote songs for Celine Dion. He wrote for Michael Bolton. He was a songwriter, as well as a songwriter for other people, as well as the songs that he was doing for himself. So during the second Vinnie Vincent Invasion album, I was working with I was working with Dana Strum on an album he was producing, and he was doing both albums at the same time. We would go in and do the Cooney album during the day, and then he would do Vinnie at night. So every day it was ping-ponging back and forth in the same studio. And it was from that he told Vinnie about me. He goes, dude, I think you might want to use Jeff for some stuff, because he's not just a metal guy. He's very soulful. And Vinnie had some stuff. He was writing songs for a publishing company, submitting songs, and he needed a voice to complete these things. So I went to his house. I sang 4 or 5 songs, and nothing to do with rock. They were so sultry and almost croony balladeer kind of stuff, and nothing to do with rock at all. And that's why people say, oh, what about this new Vinnie thing that you guys did? No, it was never intended to be any more than me singing on his demos, so he could submit them to his publishing company and they can place them for whoever wants to sing them. And that's all that ever was. It was just 4 or 5 songs, and he paid me a little dough to just demo them at his house so he can submit them to the publishing company.
Yeah. That's interesting. Do you know if any of those songs got sold? Did they ever?
Don't know. I know he eventually, I think he did he tried to do another album after the whole Slaughter thing, and he found another singer. I think he covered 1 or 2 of those songs in more of a rock way, but I don't think they really saw the light of day.
He's an interesting guy. I'd love to get him on the podcast, because he kind of disappeared for a while. I think he kind of came back and then he disappeared.
Yeah. He's definitely got he's battling his own demons of what he's trying to do and who he's supposed to be and who he actually is. So yeah, God bless him. Everybody deserves a shot. So whatever he's doing, God bless him. That's all I can say.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned Dana Strum. I was going to ask you about this too. Did you sing backup vocals on Slaughter's album, Wildlife? You did. Okay.
One song, I think 1 or 2 songs on that album. Yeah. It's like me and Randy Jackson from Zebra on the singing background on the same song. I forgot what it was, but I sang back I did backing tracks on well, actually Mark did some backing tracks on the album we were doing with Dana producing, and Dana took one of those tracks and reversed it, and it was the intro for a Vinnie Vincent Invasion song. So I can say I'm actually on that Vinnie Vincent Invasion album because they took something that was meant for the Cooney album, he reversed it and made some cool back masking track thing.
Which song was that?
I think it was Ashes to Ashes. I'm not sure. I think so. It was definitely from the All Systems Go album.
That's amazing. Can you remember all the stuff? I mean, it's like you've done so much stuff. Do you ever get confused? Like, I guess I did play on that, or
it's starting to go. So, oh my God. Point in case, the last Monsters of Rock cruise, it was a late night hang. I was about to go to bed, me and my bass player. Let's just go get a bite. We went to the buffet and we're just sitting there, and they're always playing nonstop music from all the artists that are on the boat. And back when I first did my first cruise, they said, give us as much content, we'll just dump it in. It's like a big Spotify playlist. It's just going to be playing. So your songs just pop up randomly. So we're just sitting there having a bite. And Tony looks at me and goes, isn't that you? I'm like, I'm listening to it. Yeah, it's me. But what song is this? I'm listening. I have no idea. And somebody overheard us. The person said, that's from the first Soto album. I'm like, I had no recollection of the song.
Wow.
And we're finished eating and I'm laughing to myself, like, I can't believe I didn't even recognize my own song that I submitted for these people to play on the boat. So we're walking out and I run into the guys in Striper, and the new guy, I call him the new guy, Perry, who was in the Firehouse.
Yeah.
Like, Jeff, I heard this song. I'm like, man, who is that? I put Shazam up and it's you. And that song was badass. And he was giving me all these compliments, like, cool. But I told him my story. I said, I didn't even know it was me.
Wow.
But yeah, I've done so much stuff that sometimes I forget I've done things. Yeah.
Yeah. Those cruises sound like so much fun. I got to do that. That's on my bucket list. Are you playing next year?
Yeah, I'm going. I think I've only missed one since 2016. The year that Sons of Apollo played, because we were on tour. I couldn't do it, and I was dark on 2018, and I think they went out in 20, and that was another one. Sons of Apollo were already busy, so I missed that one. So there's two of them I missed since 2016. But yeah, I'll be on the next one as well.
And it's under Soto, or would it be ellefson-soto, or
we go under Soto because that's how they initially booked us. But Soto was more contemporary metal, like it's power metal kind of. It's really heavy. It's not really formatted for the boat. And I learned that the hard way the first time we played on there. I think people were more expecting the JSS catalog stuff. When I do the JSS tours, I tap into all the different things throughout my career. And when they wanted to book us again, I think we should mix it up more JSS stuff, or throw in some Talisman, throw in some Yngwie, throw in a bunch of different things, because those people are more my age. They remember the stuff I did in the past. They remember even going as far back as Yngwie. They're not going to be interested in brand new music I just released 6 months ago that's not even on their Spotify or their wheelhouse. And I'm just going to sit there and bore them to tears playing stuff they're not really interested in. So it's gone over really well that they book us as Soto, but I just tap into the JSS catalog hard, like big time. Rockstar, Talisman, Yngwie, Soul Circus, some solo stuff. We tap into a lot of stuff, and there's a lot to tap into.
Oh yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah, it's interesting because I think when I had Millie on, I talked to him about that, like performing those Rockstar songs live. It's like you don't get to hear those very often, so that's cool. Well, you do like all three. You played three, I think, in the movie. So
yeah, Wasted Generation, Stand Up, and Living the Life.
Yeah, those are all great songs. Do you do any other like movie or TV or commercial work?
I sang on the soundtrack for Biker Mice from Mars. I don't know if you know that cartoon. It was kind of the bastard answer to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
And that was a lot of fun. This the first time my kid was like 6 or 7 or something. It was the first time I was a hero to my son as a singer.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, I've done tons of commercials. I've done a bunch of movie things, unassuming things. I did something for Danny Elfman once, Mark Shaman. I sang backgrounds on the George of the Jungle movie soundtrack. George of the Jungle. That's me on there. So.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. Danny Elfman, did you actually get to like meet him? He's a genius.
I did something for him for the a long time ago. Jesus, Bubble Boy, I think was the name of it. I think it was
Oh,
Jake
yeah.
Gyllenhaal. Yeah,
Yeah.
long time ago.
Wow, that's fun. Cool. Well, God, so much cool stuff. And yeah, the new album is called Slam. It's just the band is Slam and the album is Slam.
And it's a nostalgic take back on something that never came out, and it just came out. So 30 years later, finally came out.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. It's like, yeah, it's like getting new music that came out for that I'd never heard. I never heard the
Right.
bootlegs or whatever. So yeah, it was great. Great
Right
stuff.
on.
Cool. Well, I always end up promoting a charity. Is there a charity that you've worked with before? Or?
Well, there's a charity that I wish I'd gotten the name. My dear friend Brent Woods, who plays with Sebastian Bach. He's also part of this group called Chevy Metal that Taylor Hawkins was their drummer. Sure. And they're doing a big benefit show next week here at the Canyon Club in Agora Hills. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be here for it, but he's got an animal rescue thing that he started.
Okay.
And I asked him for the link, and he told me he's going to send me a QR code, but I don't even have the name of it. And I wish I could push it, but
I'll figure it out. And I'll put it in the show notes. So if people want donate to that, I'll put your website.
Absolutely.
As well,
and as we both communicate all the time that we love animals more than we love people. So I really champion any charities that are trying to help and save animals and foster them and all that stuff. I've helped do that even through my sites. It was a dog that was hours away from euthanization, and I put it out on my website and on my socials, and the dog got picked up and saved. So those kinds of things I'm always actively trying to get behind.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I love that stuff too. Yeah, I was actually just thinking today, I was like, God, it'd be kind of cool to open up like an animal sanctuary. Like, I'm like, I don't know if you could do it in Phoenix because it's so hot here, but
right. Yeah, I dream of doing something like that.
Right? I mean, I feel like that'd be even more fun than doing podcasts and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate it. And we'll be in touch. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. See ya. Bye. Once again, the latest album is called Slam, and the album is also called Slam. And it might be a little tough to find because there are so many slams on Spotify. So if you type in Lonely Shade of Blue as a song, the band and the album should come up. Jeff is a very busy man, so make sure to follow him on social media to keep up with all his projects. You can follow myself and the show on there as well. And please make sure to subscribe wherever you watch or listen. And if you have the time, please give us a rating or review, because that helps people find the show and it helps our guests so that people can find out what they're up to. So I appreciate all your support for the show and our guests. Have a great rest of your day and shoot for the moon.